Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Surina and I'm a surgical trainee working in the UK. This is part 2 of my life job update video, so make sure you've watched part 1 before for a bit more context, and let's jump right into it. So where we left off in part 1 was me finally making a decision about which surgical specialty I wanted to apply for. This was in around November, December time, and the portfolio deadline was in January. So it was a very mad rush to make sure I had all my portfolio things done. There was all the going in on days off to do appendix operations, trying to get my numbers, which was quite a mission in itself. I've been updating my logbook for the last what seems like days. I think it's been less than an hour, but it feels so much worse. I have been operating on appendixes like my appendices, like my life depends on it over the last few weeks to months, because I need a certain number to get the maximum points for my portfolio, which I've only got a couple of weeks before it all closes. So I'm about to do the final count. I need 36. I don't know why I'm so nervous. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 20, 30, 31, plus 7, 38? Oh, I think I'm 2 over. And the last 2 I did were so stressful in not the operation itself, but trying to get them. I was trying to be in like 3 places at once. So were those last 2 not even necessary or the stress levels were not necessary? 31, 32, 33, so 38. Yes, I am 2 over. Yes! There was the frantic putting together of audits, making sure you'd done enough cycles, making sure they're submitted to conferences. And whilst portfolio things are for professional development, they are also a tick box exercise sometimes in terms of what you specifically get points for. There was a lot of rush at the end to make sure the work I had done was packaged in the right way to maximize the points out of it. And don't underestimate how much you can get done in a very intensive short period of time, especially if you work as a team. You know that saying, if you want to go far, go together? That could not have been more true for what this whole application period was like. There are a handful of us core surgical trainees working in my hospital, and we're all applying for general surgery. And so not only are we in direct competition with each other trying to get a job, some of us were even aiming for the same geographical location, so we're in direct competition for the same exact jobs as each other as well. Yet, most of us treated getting these points as a team game rather than an individual one, and the returns were massive. We were calling each other when there were appendicitis patients going in for theatres. That meant we could both do the operation together, and if we both made sure to do enough steps of it, it would count as one of our numbers on our logbook. We were pulling each other in onto projects that we were doing to ensure that we were all contributing to each other's, and then we could add it onto our own portfolios as well. And I think surgery sometimes gets a really bad reputation for being made up of groups of people who are extremely competitive, very type A, and possibly quite cutthroat. And yes, you will meet people like that in surgery, you'll meet people like that everywhere. But I wanted to tell you about my experience to let you know that it's not like that everywhere. It shouldn't be a barrier for you to come into a space like surgery expecting everyone to be that way, because they're really not. Everyone on the whole is so supportive. The quicker you realize it's not a zero-sum game where one person wins and one person loses, that everyone can win if you all work together, you'll just get so much more out of everything. After all of that franticness in the last months and weeks, portfolios were finally submitted, and then it was time to just wait and see if you got an interview. Now, the problem with these interviews is... The problem with that bike is that not everyone needs to hear it. The problem with these interviews is that they are a hell of a lot of work, but you only get invited to interview, if you're shortlisted for one, a couple of weeks before the actual interview date, which is absolutely not enough time to prepare. And so you can't really leave it that late. So it's extremely hard to motivate yourself or discipline yourself to start preparing for an interview that you don't even know that you have. But it's the name of the game, so we started preparing straight away. And I say we because, again, I was so grateful for all of the people around me. We formed interview practice groups with each other. We had sessions run by our seniors. We were begging registrars and consultants to give us practice wherever, whenever, in between shifts, in between theatre cases. And then the interview invite day rolled over. I was, of course, on call. I was stressed the whole day, checking my phone, checking my emails every few minutes, whilst trying to do an on-call shift as well. The whole day passed, the morning went, lunchtime went, the evening went, and of course at some bizarre evening o'clock time, they decided to email us to tell us if we had an interview or not, and thankfully I was shortlisted for an interview. So now it was time to really ramp up the practice, and I spent basically all of my time out of work doing just that. Finally, it was interview day, and I put on my pale pink interview top that I've worn for every interview I've had in the last 5 years. I put on my shoes, even though it was an online interview from home, but I wanted to feel in the zone and ready. I had my laptop, I had 2 backup laptops, I had 2 phones ready to hotspot off if the Wi-Fi internet failed, and I was ready. Usually people say that the interview passes in a blink of an eye. Well, mine did not. The interview is divided up into 3 stations: a clinical station, where you talk through how you'd manage a surgical emergency, a management station where there are a number of logistical, educational and training and patient safety issues which you have to go through and talk about how you would solve, and a portfolio station where you have to talk about all of your portfolio achievements and what you've been doing to prepare for high level training. Each station is about 10 minutes and there's reading time between the stations as well. So I did my clinical station, it did go by very quickly, and then I waited to be moved into the next room, the next online room, to do my next station, and I waited. And then 5 minutes went past, 10 minutes went past, I was still waiting. I was furiously messaging on the online support chat thing they had told us to contact if there were any problems. No one was replying to me. 15 minutes passed, 20 minutes passed, and that adrenaline high that you need to get through the interview was very much just fading away. It was so anticlimactic, I was so confused, I was just sitting there not knowing what to do with myself. I'd been sitting there for a while, so I thought I would check my phone. It was face down on the other side of the room, obviously, and I'll never forget the way my heart fell out of my body when I flipped it over, and I had about 10 or 11 missed calls from an unknown number, and as I picked it up it immediately started ringing again, and so of course I immediately answered, and it was the interview guys, the sort of tech logistical operators behind the scenes, who said they couldn't see me on the system anymore, they couldn't put me in the right room. Was I still there? I said, of course I'm still there. This is the most important interview of my life. I am very much here. After a lot of faffing, they eventually got me into the reading part of my next station. I was trying to desperately ignore everything that just happened and just focus on the station in front of me. I did that station and then again got put in this black hole void where nothing was happening. This time I kept my phone on me. I waited for them to ring me, which they did immediately, and I immediately answered. They figured it out. It again took sort of 15 or 20 minutes to sort things out before I could finally do my last station. By this point, honestly, I was pretty flustered. The adrenaline ups and downs had not done good things for me. I remember finishing that last station just exhausted. It was bound to be exhausting anyway, but I think all of those emotions had absolutely floored me. And I, in my full interview outfit, just went upstairs and lay down in bed and stared at the ceiling in silence for quite a while. And when the dust had settled, when I'd come back to consciousness again, it was time for the wait to begin. So as I've said, there's numerous hoops to jump through in a medical career, but this one was particularly tight. It's quite a bottleneck in terms of training numbers versus applicants. It's very competitive, and it also determines a lot of things. Unlike my previous job applications that were for the next 2 years of working or the next year of working, this was determining where I'd be for the next 6 years, where I'd geographically be settling down, where I would basically be finishing the rest of my training taking me up to becoming a consultant. That's got a lot of implications for career progression and where you live and what your life looks like. So what exactly was I thinking and what did I want at this stage? Similar to when I was applying for core surgical training, I was very clear that I very specifically wanted training jobs in certain locations only that would allow me to be in the same place as my husband, who's also a surgical trainee, and allow me to be close to my family. That meant although there were around 280 of us interviewing for 140 or so total jobs, there was actually only 20 or 30 that I was seriously considering actually taking. And in fact, within that, there was only 5 or 6 jobs that would be my absolute dream choice. The odds aren't particularly in your favor. And so I really had to work to be in a place where I would be happy about both outcomes. Of course, I am very keen to get on with my training. I feel almost at a level where I feel ready and excited to step up to registrar level training, and the stability of being in the same region for the next 6 years of training is invaluable. But there was so much to be gained from taking it a year out as well. With surgery, you can never have too much experience, and I knew that getting another year of a non-training surgical job under my belt would be really, really useful. I could take some time out or reduce my hours significantly as well. I could finally take this channel more seriously. I could explore ventures outside of medicine as well. I could become a dog mum, which, by the way, if any doctor couples have achieved, can you please message me and tell me how you did it? The future was good, whichever outcome would work out. It's very hard to make yourself think that way when there is one outcome you really want, but I really believe in the whole whatever's meant for you works out. You just have to find the opportunities and make it what you want. If it doesn't work out via plan A, make it happen via plan B. The more I progress in this career, the more I realize how important it is to detach your self-worth and value from career progression and accolades. Because much like most things you chase to get a feeling of self-worth or self-value, once you get them, you still won't feel complete and you'll be looking for the next thing after that. You have to build that sense of completeness within you, because then everything you do will either be a success or something that you learn from and actually progress as a result of, which is its own success as well. And then it is truly win-win. And rather than cowering away from a failure, you just grow towards more success in a different direction. But I'm going to be real with you, our jobs in medicine are undoubtedly tied down to career progression and providing stability. And so the applications are really stressful. There was about 2 or 3 weeks between the interview and the date they told us they would tell us the outcomes on. And this time was horrible. It was this really uncomfortable limbo where you were neither here nor there. You couldn't allow yourself to indulge in thinking about one outcome or the other, because it was truly out of your hands at this stage. Like I mentioned, my husband and I both do surgery, so we would spend evening after evening discussing every possible iteration of what could happen, what would happen if he got this and I got that, where would we live, what would we do. It was honestly infuriating to keep having the same conversation without any outcome again and again. And then the strangest thing happened. Traditionally, I found, with applying for jobs multiple times within the NHS, deadlines are very much a suggestion and not a rule. And usually the information comes much after the deadline it was meant to. It was a Thursday before the Tuesday that jobs were meant to be released. Vig and I went on a walk after work, got home after a lovely walk, and had a bit of a Love Island moment really, where Vig suddenly checked his phone and said he's got a text from Oriel. He's got a text! If you don't know, the holy ground that is Oriel, the platform on which you apply for all jobs. And let me tell you, very few things in life are as terrifyingly scary as the Oriel no reply email in your inbox, because it could mean information that pretty much changes the course of the rest of your life, or it could just be them telling you that something extremely minor and non-important has changed on their platform, and you never know which one it's going to be. But this time they decided to go very left field and text us, and I'd received the same text when I checked my phone as well. I started furiously logging into Oriel. I got my password wrong once, I got it wrong twice, 3 times and you're out, and I would have been locked out of my account, not even knowing what information was waiting there for me. My heart was in my throat, my whole body was thumping, I could already feel myself starting to sweat. I actually had to just sit on the floor because I was so mentally and physically unstable at this point. Finally, with my sweaty fingers, got logged in, clicked on the offers tab, and I got a general surgery registrar training number in my top choice location. The tears were already falling at this stage, and I looked up with makeup strewn all over my face, asking my husband what happened with his application, because for us it was a kind of all or nothing. One of us getting the job and the other one not would have been really not ideal in terms of living circumstances, etc. So my heart was still in my throat, I was still sweating and stressed. And he also got a registrar training number in general surgery in the same location. I'd imagined me filming the reaction, but it was all so unexpected and so fast. I didn't really get the reaction, but I did get this video of me sitting on the floor with my makeup all over my face, having just had a big cry. Yeah, it was indescribable. It was a really beautiful evening because news travels fast. We had calls coming in from registrars and consultants seconds after the offers came out. Everyone was asking what happened and then congratulating us. There were a few of us applying for the exact same jobs in the same locations, and all three of us managed to get those jobs. The whole time we were aware we were in direct competition with each other, but I think the fact that we all clocked on and realized that we could all win if we worked properly together was such an amazing early realization. There's a phrase I really love, which is a rising tide lifts all boats or floats all boats. I never know these things when I need to know them for a video. Let me just find out. A rising tide lifts all boats. That is what I said, I think. I am feeling really, really excited to progress. I entered surgical training not really knowing whether medicine was for me, whether I was going to continue being a doctor at all. And that's all just flipped on its head after the last couple of years of finding a speciality and finding a group of people that I just love working with. And don't get me wrong, it is one of the hardest things I've ever done, but that is discussion all for another video. So yeah, that's where I've been. That's what I've been doing. That's why I've disappeared off this channel for such a long time. I'll of course be making more videos about the whole application process and surgical training, so do subscribe if you want to see those. I've made videos about previous applications, core surgical training, preparing your portfolio, all the exams, etc. So make sure to check out those videos on my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.